Hey guys, Dustin here. Welcome to another episode of Horroritis. This is going to be my first video review without actual video of myself, and it seems so wrong right now. But let's move on and get right into it. So this week we're going to look at the movie Holidays, which is a horror anthology from this year based on, you guessed it, holidays. This anthology, like all anthologies, is a mix of hits and misses, so I'm going to walk you through which ones I thought were good and which ones I thought missed the mark altogether. Since this movie is still pretty fresh, I'll try to avoid spoilers because I'm cool like that. The first short in this anthology is called Valentine's Day. It's a pretty strong start. It centers around an awkward teen girl named Max who's in love with her swim coach and is bullied by other girls on her swim team, when her rival starts boasting that she's won the coach's affections and going out of her way to humiliate her once again.
You really think he'd go for you over me? Just wait until he sees the twerking routine we came up with for the talent show.
Max decides to take matters into her own hands. It's like a modern day Carrie if Carrie didn't have any powers and had to resort to conventional methods to get things done.
What are you doing? You don't even live this way!
What this one does best is it makes us feel for the characters. You feel bad for Max and you want her to be okay in the end, and they make it really easy to hate the bully, so you want to see her get what's coming to her. And you feel bad for the coach because even though he's not returning the affections of the girls on his team, by the way, good work on not writing a creeper character there, he tries to cheer up Max and inadvertently sets the entire ending into motion. I enjoyed this one. I thought it was well written and well executed, and it actually got me excited to see what other stories were in this anthology. Unfortunately, the next one was St. Patrick's Day. This one takes place in Ireland, where a school teacher gets a new student who doesn't quite fit in. She won't play with the other kids, and she's really standoffish with the teacher. So the teacher tries to get the girl to smile and participate, and just, it's not happening. This girl's having no part of that.
Would you like to ring the lunch bell?
So just before the holiday, the girl gives the teacher a braided snake. It's made out of some sort of husk and herbs and things like that. And the teacher thinks she's making progress with the girl. Then, after a long drunken Patty's weekend, the teacher finds out that she's pregnant. But it's not just like any drunken accidental pregnancy. It's something far worse, and it may just be the little girl's doing.
Have you ever seen the Hollywood movie Rosemary's Baby?
Yeah.
If you replace baby with a reptile?
Now, the setup to this one was good. You got a good 10 minutes of building up to something awesome, except that something awesome doesn't actually show up. After the creepy pagan ginger girl, the teachers decline into both insanity and reclusion, and the steadily darkening atmosphere were treated to what feels like Tim Burton's idea of a Monty Python sketch. You can't help but feel cheated, and the only thing missing is a giant cartoon foot to come out of the sky and smash everybody. After that, we have Easter. It starts with a mother tucking her daughter into bed on the night before Easter. The daughter's scared because they told her in church that Jesus rose from the dead. This leads to an awkward yet amusing conversation where the mother tries to explain the resurrection and how the Easter bunny isn't actually a part of that.
In church, they said that Easter was about him coming back from being dead. What about the Easter bunny? Is he dead too?
None of her explaining does any good, however, and she just tells the girl, go to bed, so you don't see the Easter bunny because kids can't see the Easter bunny. So later that night, the girl wakes up and goes to get a drink of water, only to discover that someone or something is in her house. I enjoyed this one. The special effects were really good and mostly practical instead of CGI, which, if you've seen any videos where I talk about special effects, you know I enjoy the practical effects much more than CGI. It did, however, leave me wanting more. Not like in a bad way, I just really wanted to know how things came to the point in which we find them and what happened next. I think this could have been fleshed out into a bigger story, or could have been, just the beginning of a story or the ending of another story, or, you know, there should have been more. There's so many things there that could have been played with, and it could definitely be something bigger than just what they put in this movie. Next up was Mother's Day, and honestly, I'm pretty sure I fell asleep during this one. I couldn't remember a thing about it until I went back and read the synopsis. This one centers around a woman who gets pregnant literally every time she has sex. She goes to a doctor to try to figure out how to make it stop outside of just not having sex anymore. The doctor, who has no clue, offers to set her up with a group that meets out in the desert who may be able to help her. When she gets there, she learns that it's a group of women who are having trouble getting pregnant. So, thinking that she doesn't belong there, she tries to leave, but they convince her to stay. And some mind-altering drugs and a few fertility rituals later, she is now a captive of the group and very much pregnant. The problem with this one is that it just drags on for far too long. You could cut like every scene in this story in half and still come out with something watchable. The only saving grace is the ending, but only because it's a little unexpected. Honestly, though, they should have taken this ending off of Mother's Day and stuck it on to the end of St. Patrick's Day, and you would have had a pretty decent story there. After Mother's Day is Father's Day, and this one is kind of slow as well, only it's not drawn out. The pace of the story is just slower, and that's not a bad thing. It centers on a woman who receives an old tape recorder on her doorstep. When she plays the tape, she hears the voice of her father, who she thought was dead, telling her that he's sorry for being away and that he wants to meet with her. All she has to do is follow the instructions on the tape.
Go there, turn the tape over, press play, and I will guide you.
She does, and is taken on a scavenger hunt that leads her to the last place she ever saw her father. The only issue I have with this one is that it feels unfinished. There is so much more to this story that we don't get to see, and I think it needs to be in there to make this one truly great. This could actually be like another one that could be a full-length actual movie, and I would totally watch it. From the time I started watching this movie, I was excited about two things. I wanted to know what they were going to do with Halloween, obviously, and I wanted to know which one Kevin Smith directed. As it turns out, Kevin Smith directed the Halloween segment of the movie, and he ruined it. This one's about a guy named Ian who convinces girls to move out to LA to work for him doing webcam shows for pervs on the internet. The three girls he has working for him, one of which is played by Kevin Smith's daughter, are tired of being mistreated and decide they want to go out for Halloween. Ian tells them no, then he berates them.
The next generation's coming, and they're gonna replace you. Just like you replaced the whores before you.
And attempts to rape one of them. The rest of the segment basically turns into a revenge torture plot that seems to be crude for the sake of being crude. There's no story to this segment, the characters are completely unbelievable, and worse yet, it had nothing to do with Halloween. This is by far the worst segment in the entire anthology, and it was the one I had the most hope for. But at least now we know that there's nowhere to go but up, and Christmas is definitely a step in the right direction. In this one, we see Seth Green playing the part of the nice guy pushover who doesn't stand up for himself. He's out on Christmas Eve trying to get the newest virtual reality headset called YouView for his son, but the last one has already been sold.
I said I was coming.
First come, first served. Sorry, pal. Holidays are hell.
When he sees the guy who just bought the last one falling down having a heart attack, he has to make a choice. Help the man, or take his YouView and walk away. The choice he makes not only shows who he is, but also shows him the true nature of those around him. Now this one isn't a thinker. There's nothing to figure out or to interpret, and there wasn't a big twist. It was just a straightforward horror comedy, and it's a nice addition to the anthology. Seth Green has great timing and can make just about any character likable, so even if this one isn't the most complex, it is very enjoyable. The last segment in this anthology is New Year's Eve, and it starts with Reggie killing the woman he's been keeping captive after she refused to fall in love with him.
Tonight at midnight, I want to kiss someone who makes me feel like I can take the tape off their lips.
He then sets out to find another girl to kidnap and ends up on a very awkward New Year's Eve date that ends with much more than he was hoping for.
Oh. Whoa, whoa.
This was a good way to end an altogether subpar movie on a positive note. It's worth sitting through Mother's Day and Halloween to get to this one. Of course, you can always just skip those two altogether and still be alright. This is a movie I would say, if you have Netflix or a subscription service that offers this movie, absolutely check it out. But don't go out and spend money specifically to watch this movie. It would just not be worth it. So that's my review for Holidays. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What segment did you like if you've already seen this movie? Do you plan to see this movie if you haven't already seen it? You can also hit that like button if you liked this video or found it in any way entertaining. Do hit the like button because that does help me out. Also, if you haven't subscribed already, be sure to hit subscribe because I've got more videos coming out to you soon, and hopefully some of them will actually be videos with video of me scaring the crap out of you with my ugly mug, just like I've been doing from the beginning. So as always, I'm Dustin, this was Horroritis, and until next time.
The holidays, hell.